The head coach of the Evergreen Park Mustang football team sitting down here again on the EP podcast, Jim Ramazinski. Coach Ram, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. It's been an up and down season. There's been some downs. You had a big upset 2 weeks ago, and now this past weekend, you ran into a really good football team, right? You're on the road going up against a team that is probably the best in your entire conference and is a perennial powerhouse. And you got a bunch of guys that were injured walking into the game. Take me through this game that we just went through.
Yeah, Richards is a great program. They've been for the past, 30, 40 years. So we knew we were going into a tough matchup. It didn't help that, we had 6 starters not playing in that game due to injury, but some have been ongoing. Some sprung up that week after Revis. But you know what? We knew that going in as well. I was not the score we wanted, of course, but the boys played hard. They really did until the very end. So that was a good, promising thing to see because a lot of kids, especially when you're 3-4 going into a game that you're definitely an underdog. Everybody knows it. Some kids could have folded up, decided they didn't want to practice hard, they didn't want to do it. I thought our boys played really hard until the end, and we were able to get some guys in at the end of the game who haven't been out there as much, and that was good to see. And, that's part of life. Losing is part of it. We've talked about that before. How you deal with losses, how you deal with adversity is what we're trying to get our boys to understand. Hey, if you have a positive attitude, even in negative times, you're going to come out stronger, even if the result isn't what you want it to be.
Yeah, it was a real David versus Goliath matchup right there, and you did have still a shot at the postseason if you could pull up the upset, but there's a reason why the David versus Goliath thing is an amazing story, because generally Goliath wins. And so that's kind of what happens here. Now, you did have at least one. I'm sure you had many big performers, but anybody that you want to highlight from that game?
I'd like to highlight sophomore Garrett Kazmirowicz. He had his first varsity touchdown reception, which was good to see. He's a sophomore out there. He's been huge for us this year, playing defensive line, linebacker, receiver, wing. He's on special teams, so he's done a lot for us this year. And then senior Genesis Ward had a really good day. 3 sacks, a tackle for loss on top of those 3 sacks, 9 total tackles, and a pass breakup. And it was really good to see him get off the ball as fast as he was and make some plays, and I was proud of his effort. And like I said, you lose games like this, you play teams that are, you're a little bit overmatched by. That happens. I was proud of their efforts. I was proud of how they finished the game. And, I always think to myself, like, this is part of it. It's frustrating, but there's no place I would rather be. And I'm happy to finish out this last week with the Mustangs.
Yeah, you have a competitive game here at the end against Argo. I would expect this to be a game which both teams believe that they can go out and they can win. Both teams sitting at 2-3 in their conference as I look here at Max Prep. So you both are looking to finish 500 in the conference. You're looking to finish 4-5. It's not what you wanted when the season started, but you can end on a positive note. Where you've mentioned over the last couple of episodes, actually, people can go back and listen. You've been mentioning more and more younger players that are performing here in the back half of the season. So is that what you're looking at going into this game? Like, let's finish strong. Let's get this win. Sure, the postseason isn't an option, but let's see some of these young guys continue to build on what they've been doing.
Yeah, we want to see that, but most importantly to me, we want to get a win for our seniors on their last game, excuse me. Especially the guys who've been in the program for 4 years. We want to make sure that we do our best to prepare. Argo's got a 4-4 record. They are going to be hungry because they're fighting that they need that 5th win to.
You can play spoiler.
Yeah.
There's, I would think that'd be kind of a motivation for a competitive person. Like, we're gonna spoil it on their field. Because it is a conference rival. You don't think of Argo, but you do play them every year.
Yeah. Well, we want to win every game, and we definitely want to win this last game. And yeah, that is a piece of it too. We have a lot of respect for Argo, their players, their coaches. I've coached with a couple of their coaches over there before, and they're just as competitive as we are. They want to win just like that. So it should be a great matchup on Friday night.
what are you looking for as a coach besides the win? It's something that's been sitting in the back of my head throughout the last couple of weeks, right? Like, you had a lot of positive in the season, but you got a lot of things that you have to build on. Do you at any time start watching a younger player a little bit closely, trying to figure out what is this kid going to be next year? Do you start thinking about the future? Does somebody get an extra opportunity or two, or get put into a position here in a game like this where in the end, yes, you do want to win the game, but you also want to put yourself in a good position for the 2025 season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking for the boys to finish.
Right.
Like, and finish strong. And that's something that, I've been on teams in the past, not a while, but, teams that were not as, like similar situations. Like, you're not, you're not postseason bound. And I've seen teams kind of phone it in, whether I was a part of the coaching staff as an assistant. It really only one time.
But that would stick in your head, right? I mean, no matter what, a clean slate the next year, the kids come back, they're ready to go. But you're going to be, when you're thinking about position battles and guys that you can rely on, you remember a game like that, right? If all of a sudden you were like, this guy phoned it in when it didn't really matter, I don't see how a coach doesn't remember that the next year.
No, I mean, that's the big part of it. I just saw Mike Tomlin talk about, and I thought this was a good thing to hear, especially for our team that's smaller. He said, you really need 8 to 10 guys that all buy into the same thing. And that's an NFL coach who's won a Super Bowl and is one of the longest tenured coaches in one organization, maybe of all time. I don't know what the stat is.
He's been there a long time.
But that's what you need. You just want to see guys who are going to come together, work hard, finish strong. I believe, I'm confident that they will. Records aside, like, high school football is also about developing young men, the experience for them. I'm hoping we could just end on a good win, a good experience, and also see guys finish strong.
I also think that one of the things that I've noticed in the program in the last couple of years has been that this team also, win or lose, has had some players move on to the next level. I mean, it's also your high school career may be over, but if you want to go play at the next level, that's almost like one of your roles as well, right? Like making sure they develop and also being there to help them get recruited or end up someplace else.
Spending a lot of time in the off season helping kids with that, reaching out to coaches, just like Coach Verdi did before. That's it. Part of my job as a football coach, teacher, is not just like, okay, what was the score on Friday night? It's about how can we help you get to what level you want to be at? What do you want to do? And it's not even just about getting them to play college football always. It's sometimes about like, where are you going next year? What do you want to do? What schools are you looking at? How can we help you? Can we point you in the right direction? And, the off season, once it hits, that'll be a big focus point for me, for our coaches, and for our kids, especially the seniors, to kind of get them out the door on the right foot.
Right, because you mentioned Genesis Ward, and I've heard his name so many times. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a scout or anything like that, but I hear you bring him up. Like he had another great game, or he did this, or he did that. And even in a game with high level competition, right? Like you run into that Goliath. He had a really good game. That's a kid that may be looking to, I'm going to the next level, like those 6 kids that moved on and played at the next level from last year's class. And then that becomes your focus in the offseason, right?
Yeah, it's a big part of it. I mean, the college recruiting thing, I mean, I think we had about 45 coaches come through last year.
That's awesome.
Setting up appointments with them, reaching out to them. They reach out to me, vice versa. So, yeah, I mean, that'll be a big thing that will get started once we kind of season ends and we get settled. But, like, right now, the good thing is, like, kid like Genesis, like, I know how he is. He's just thinking about getting a win on Friday night.
Right, he's not worried about that. He wants to win the game.
We'll just move. We'll move to that phase once this gets closed out. But, it's kind of, I mean, it's a weird thing when you're a senior and hey, I got 3-4 days left. That's it, And I mean, I remember walking off the field the last time when I was a senior, just like these guys will. At some point, you just want to hope that you end on a good note, a good experience for the kids, and then help them move forward with whatever their goals are.
I think anytime you're part of a program, like for a good amount of time, that affects the athlete when they know it's their last game, right? I mean, like I didn't even get it with my son playing hockey before he got to high school. So before he gets to high school, he plays in the same thing, like the Chicago Horned Frogs for like years. And I didn't even get it that like it was going to matter to him the last game he played with them. Like he went out, he played in the tournament. They were at Notre Dame. They played in this tournament. He came out of the locker room and this kid was so emotional because to him it was the end of something, right? And I remember in the game, I'm like, man, he is really just giving up his body for everything. Like he was leaving it all out there. And I think you see that with a lot of guys. Like I think you'll see that from a lot of your seniors. You'll see that this is their last time putting on that EP. You know, it doesn't matter how the season went. They want to leave it out there because they know that and they're conscious of it. I missed that because I wasn't a high school athlete. I played in the marching band, but I see it now a little bit. I saw it a little bit with my kid, and you're talking about it. That'll be a sight to see, I think, for you.
Yeah, no, and I mean it's a real thing. I mean, you just know, again, like we talked about opportunities. Like you don't have opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity always. So for some kids, Friday night will be the last time they ever put a helmet on and play football. And like I said, my hope is that we can go out there, we can play a strong, tough game, be physical, make sure that we got high effort, everybody's flying in the ball, and we can end on a win. And you know, got a couple days of practice left. It's exciting to see guys move on as time goes on, see what they're going to do. But at the same time, it's always bittersweet when you're coming near the end of a season because you're going to miss some of the guys and you're going to want to make sure that they remember your program and look back on it and think that was a great experience, even if you didn't win every single game.
Right. Okay, so we will talk a little bit more about the offseason and wrap up everything with Argo on the next week's episode. So this won't be the last time that you're down here. Everybody will kind of get to check in after this game. But good luck in the final game. Friday night, 6 p.m. at Argo. Go get a win because I think it'd be great to see the team finish on a high note.
Yep, I agree. Thanks, Chris.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.